Good morning. My name is David Robinson, the father of geologist Daniel Cornelius Robinson, who went missing on June 23rd, 2021, while he was at his job site in a remote area of the desert of Buckeye, Arizona. As you know, I have been here since June the 26th, 2021, in search of my son. And I come here today to tell you a little bit about that. And also come to you today to plead for your help. As you know, the first thing I've done since I've been here was two things. I started working really hard to try to find a way to get out there in that desert to search for my son. The other thing is I had to start my own investigation. And the reason why I had to do those two things is because I felt dissatisfied with the performance of the local police department. First, they did not have the urgency there to go search for my son. That prompted me to move faster to get here in Arizona to look for my son myself. Regardless of the fact if this department was looking for my son or not, which they hadn't done, I would have been here anyway. But like I said, with the slow movement, I had to move quickly. Because as we know that the first 24 to 48 hours is crucial in finding a person when they're going missing. Like I said, the first two things I did was try to find a way to find my son myself, and the other is to get information to what happened to my son. I was able to secure a meeting with the young man that met the gentleman that saw my son last at that well site. I met him right outside of Sun Valley Parkway and near Cactus Road entrance to that well site. We had a discussion there where my investigation first started. I had gotten all the information I needed from him, his story, and I was able to document those things. Secondly, I tried to work with the Buckeye Police Department in conjunction with them to see if they're doing an investigation. To my avail, I found out they wasn't. One of the key reasons why it wasn't an investigation is because they didn't see it as a criminal act. And my son had the right to leave on his own if he wanted to. And without anything that suggests that it was criminal or he is a endangered person, they couldn't move. They couldn't get things like cell phone pings that they told me they couldn't get. They couldn't get the information off the Uconnect from his vehicle. They couldn't get camera information off the roads that we asked for. Anything we asked for, satellite imagery, they couldn't get any of those things. Being dissatisfied, of course, the kind of father that I am, I had to find ways to do that myself too. Being that we was unable to get things like cell phone pings from the cell phone company, I was able to get some information like bank statements and things like that I still have to this day. Things that I even offered to the Buckeye Police Department that they don't have. They do not have any hard copies of anything from my son. So like I said, I had to go through those things myself, his phone records, and try to find information that I can get. And then I had to utilize the Buckeye Police Department report to get other information that I may have been missing and do comparisons as I go along. In the meantime, I was out there working day and night trying to get media coverage for my son. Because the two things needed to happen. I needed to start the search so I can get out there in this desert, to get to this location where my son was last seen. I wanted to see it for myself. And the other thing is to also get the word out into the streets so people can be aware of what's going on. If they see anything, that would help me in my investigation. So I was able to do that by spending many nights out there doing research about the desert, reaching out to groups on social media to find out if there's anybody out there who know anything about that desert and how to start a search. I was fortunate to run into one gentleman who was willing to tell me about that area, who was willing to help me as much as he could. I started a website called pleasehelpfinddaniel.com so that I can pass out information on what I'm doing and why I'm trying to start a search, and if anybody out there to help me, they can. But with this gentleman who knew a lot about the desert because he lives in Buckeye, we was able to start a second website, searchfordaniel.org, what we're using as a catalyst to start the searches, to get people involved, to organize, and then get people out there on the ground. As you know, I was able to do that. Able to start my searches, my weekly searches, what we call our weekly organized search. But that didn't stop us from also coming in the weekdays. I didn't encourage that, but we also had searches, people who was very dedicated at the beginning, who wanted to help every day of the week because they had time off during the week, or they can come out on the weekends on the organized search. As you know, my search first started from Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road, covering the area of that we only knew about. And that's where my son was last seen. That's the well site. The first thing I did when I got to the well site on my first search was to put myself in my son's shoes. Again, doing my own investigation. Based on everything that I heard from the Buckeye Police Department and the gentleman that seen my son last at that well site. I put myself in that son's shoes. I looked around as if I was looking around, staring off into the desert to see what I can see. I wrote those things down, made a record of it, and I kept it pushing. Of course, we covered all the area, like I said, around that well site as much as we can. Not knowing everything about that desert, we just followed trails, looking for a vehicle, looking for a sign of my son, many days and many weeks. As you know, on July the 19th, 2021, a rancher out there in the desert searching for his cattle, tracking them down, ran into my son's vehicle in this ravine right here behind me in this situation. As we all know now, everything my son was wearing on his body was on the ground in a pile, a few feet away from that vehicle. Things like all his clothing, his underwear, his shoes, his socks, his wallet, his cell phone was inside the vehicle. Those are the things that made me really, really push my own investigation forward. And the reason why I started my own investigation, keeping records, recording everything I did with the Buckeye Police Department, recording phone calls, recording meetings, because I had a feeling that one day these things would come in handy. And today they have. So I continued my investigation by hiring a private investigator who could tell me what happened to my son's vehicle, because I was dissatisfied with the story from the local police department, who told me that this vehicle turned over and flipped over and rolled and bounced. And somehow with all of that, my son escaped injury. There was no blood found in the vehicle, but yet at the same time they say they believe he had a severe head injury. Hearing those contradictory things, I just knew something wasn't right. As a layperson, I can look on this ground and see my son's clothing. Some say I may be a little biased. Yes, I can say that. I'm a father. My son was in this thing or was not in this thing. But all I know, his clothing was on the ground. All I know is that the vehicle was found in the ravine looking like that. All I know is that if anybody was in an accident like that, I would think there would be some indication of some type of injury. We've seen far less damage on vehicles where people are injured. So dissatisfied with what I seen, I continued my investigation. Like I said, I hired my own investigator to tell me what happened to this vehicle, which he did. He and I spent many days contemplating on everything that he found. And with this evidence, we was very worried of why the local police department, who's in charge of this case, did not act. Reluctantly, as always done, passed on everything I found, everything my investigator found, to the Buckeye Police Department. When we did so, we didn't get the response that we thought we would get, because our goal was to work with the Buckeye Police Department to share what we found and to hopefully get some things that we hope that they found, and we come to an answer to find out what happened to my son. Instead of having the opportunity to work together, that department shut down on me. They would not answer my calls anymore. Wouldn't reach out to me for a while. In fact, the relationship had gotten so bad that they decided to get an investigator of their own, not accepting what we found here at the scene, not accepting all the evidence that we found. Instead, they, like I said, take resources of their own to find their own investigator to back up their story that I found incredible. Because it's hard for me to believe that my son was in this vehicle damaged just like that, and nobody to this day can find him. He just simply disappeared. So like I said, I continued my own search. I focused on my own search because I knew I couldn't rely on anybody from the department, from people who were sworn to protect and serve me, my family, and everybody alike in this country. I was able to expand my search because this vehicle was found on July the 19th, like I said. That very weekend after the vehicle was found, I expanded my search to not only cover the well site, but also to cover this crash site where this vehicle was found. And so in my meetings, I decided to have our searches based on a theory and also science, to where a person can walk with a possible head injury, with no clothes on his body, with that terrain, the desert heat at the time because it's in the summer, and all the conditions like the animals that's out there, the wildlife, to the Hasselhoff River, the Wagner washes, and things like that. So after we got those calculations in, we expanded our searches based on those areas where we couldn't cross, which was really hard at that time because of the water that flows through the Hasselhoff River here and there. We couldn't get on the other side of that, so we had to keep our searches close to the east side of the Hasselhoff River. But we was able to cover a lot of ground, putting hard, vigorous work for weeks. As you may understand, that costs a lot of resources. And every week we use a lot of resources. And so that's the reason why it was very important when I first started my searches to open up a GoFundMe. Because as you know, I have came here from South Carolina to find my son. I had the responsibility still to this day to my home in South Carolina, and also my responsibilities here. And I needed a little bit of help. So I reached out to the community. The community reached back to me. And to this day, the community has been the champion piece of everything I'm doing this far. Making banners like you see right here behind, putting things on cars, trying to get awareness, renting out ATVs, UTVs, and everything we need to do searches properly. Using services like aircraft, drones, or whatever, everything we need to do the searches properly. To follow leads, to have gas money to go follow leads in different cities, to passing out flyers, making flyers to every place we can. So you can understand that it's a lot of resources used at all times, every day, every week. We constantly using resources. Money is constantly going out. So I'm depending a lot on the community. As you know, like I said, I was doing my investigation and also doing my search. And all my searches were based on different things. Like I said, at first, it was based on the place my son was last seen, and that was that well site. Then secondly, like I said, where this vehicle was found. And because of everything that I found to this point, that would suggest that something possibly happened to my son, and that's possibly my son may have escaped somehow. Unsure of any of those answers, I have decided to open also a city search. And my city searches to this date has expanded. It started off in Phoenix, the homeless population. Now it's expanded to many cities here in Arizona, and my goal is to reach every city in Arizona, putting out word what happened to my son. That someone or somebody may have seen something, say something, and may want to come forward. I organize and I pay for this tip line for anybody to be able to give out information, whether they want to be anonymous or non-anonymous. Give out any information they can, what they think they may have seen, or anything. Give us some clue or something. I also open up a reward for anybody who can give information or give us anything that would lead to Daniel coming home to his family, one way out of the other. And so with all of this, you can imagine we're using a lot of resources and a lot of time. Well, to date, I'm coming to you again because I need some help. I need some real hard help. I have not gotten a lot from the local police department that I needed. In fact, just recently, they finally came out and did something that should have done on day one. Look down in the very well site my son was last seen. I was able to get them to get, they still haven't been able to get in that well that my son was last seen because they have equipment on that machine from the developers. But I'm still working on that. But they was able to put cameras down into a well that is north to where my son went missing. I was happy that they finally came out under my invitation to come out and do so. Thanks to the Buckeye Police Department for doing that. However, in my investigation, it includes getting the proper camera to go back into those same wells again. And the reason why, because when the Buckeye Police Department went in those wells, they had cameras that couldn't be submergible underwater. And I need things like that, cameras that can be submergible underwater. As you know, that well is at least 800 feet deep before it touches the water. So I have to have cameras that can go farther than that, and which I have in mind to do so. So having to take this camera out there, I will be taking a camera down into the water and search every well in that area underneath the water to look down there and properly search these wells. And to do so, I need resources to be able to do so, to purchase these equipment to do so. The second thing is, because I've been doing research and also been doing investigation on my own ever since day one, my investigation had moved forward with all the information that I collected, everything that I have found. I'm getting closer and closer to an answer to what happened to my son. And to close some of these answers that I have, like I said, I need the resources. And the resources I need will cover the cost of getting this vehicle right here processed that wasn't done at the scene. To do this myself, like I said, I'm Daniel's father. I came here to find my son, and I came here to make sure that the search for my son and the investigation and everything else is done properly. From day one, I've been here on the ground. I'm not on vacation. I'm not running around doing anything but searching for my son. And I'm serious on my job of finding my son. So like I said, I had to start my own investigation along with hopefully getting the Buckeye Police Department to work with me. So at this point, like I said, finding out that this vehicle wasn't processed at the scene, find out that the clothing hasn't been, no forensics have been done on the clothing. So these are the things I have to do myself, and it's very costly. So this is the next phase of my investigation. I'm processing this vehicle. I'm processing everything that's found at the scene, including the cell phone. I'm processing the computers that I have from my son's apartment, his personal computer. Everything that is electronic had to be processed. But at the same time, it costs money. So I'm put in the dilemma right now. It's very important to me to keep the searches going that I'm doing, the efforts with the passing out the flyers to, following leads, keep my tip line up, keep this whole thing running, and remain here in Arizona. And also I need to process and keep this investigation going. So like I said, I need the help. I need the money to process this vehicle, to get the forensics work done. So I'm asking you if you can, just please, if you can kind of donate to the GoFundMe or any way that you can to help me do so. Because this is the key thing that's going to get me more of the answers that I'm looking for. And to finalize what happened to my son. I'm really close and I need this thing done. The Buckeye Police Department hadn't processed the vehicle the way it needed to be processed. In fact, I have these possessions because it was marked for safekeeping for my son to return and pick his things up. Because my investigation says otherwise, that my son wasn't coming back to pick up things and he's unharmed like the Buckeye Police Department suggested to me. I have to have this thing processed. I have to have the clothes processed. And I need it done quickly. Because as you know, DNA, things like that is sensitive. And those things need to be processed as soon as possible. So I'm asking you, please, if you can help out any way you can, and keep me here in Arizona, and also keep my searches going. I need your help, please. Because like I said, I'm at a point now where I had to make two decisions: either suspend my searches for a while so I can get this process done, or just keep my searches going. And I'm at this crossroad right now where I can keep the searches going, but I won't be able to process and do this forensics work. So I want to do both. I need to do everything. I need to do everything that's possible that I can to find my son. And one of those things is processing this clothing, to get the DNA test done on it, a forensics work done on it, and to continue my searches, continue getting answers, continue looking, and things like that. So to be able to do those things, I need your help. And I'm asking you again, as a community, as a people, as a nation, to help me. My son has never given up on anything. I have not given up on him to this date, and I'm still searching. I've been here, like I said, since June the 26th, doing just that, looking for my son, working hard every day, barely getting to sleep. Just here, anything, the same thing any father and any mother would do, be on the front line for their child. But you know what? Sometimes we need help, and I'm asking you guys for help. If you can, please help me find my son, and help me get this forensics work done on this vehicle. You look at that. That would have been the first thing I'd done. Had I been here on day one when my son been missing, had I had the proper equipment, had I had the resources like some of these departments have, or been able to reach out with people who have those type of resources, the first thing I would have done is process the scene. That's the first thing I would have done. I'm not a police officer. I'm not law enforcement. But you know what? I'm doing police work. And I've been doing police work since day one. I've been doing the work that we rely on a department to do on day one. The job that we pay them to do, you know? I have been doing that since day one. It's very hard to wear two hats, or sometimes even three, to be a father and also to be an investigator. So, and also a coordinator to a search. So, you know, it's a lot. There's a lot done. You can imagine it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of brain power. It takes a lot of sucking up your emotions. It takes a lot to be strong. It takes a lot to be willing. And, you know, like I said, I just need your help. I need your help. And if you can, please help me. I'm trying to collect the money that I need to keep my searches going, and also to do the forensic work that need to be done on my son's vehicle, on his clothing, on his computers. Process all that. Once I get this information, I need to get it in black and white, get it on paper, and then my investigation can be coming to its completion. As to date, I found a lot of things out, very disturbing things. But you know, as you know, as you're doing an investigation, you keep a lot of things to yourself. It's very hard to play two parts of this thing. To know the things that I do know, and also to continue a search looking for your child. To keep your composure, to stay strong, and to make sure that everything is happening the way it should happen. You know, had I had the resources that I could have, when these things was turned back to me, this vehicle was turned back to me on July the 20th, the day after it was found out there. It was turned to me from the Buckeye Police Department. The fingerprinting was done under my request that the Buckeye Police Department did at the time. A few days after that, after I had a meeting with them and I demanded them to do some fingerprinting. I have yet got the answers from them on what their findings are. So I had to do those things on my own to get those answers. I have the vehicle. Also, the clothing. I have never yet got anything from that department about what was found on my son's clothing, or if anything at all. And and I haven't got anything that suggests if my son was even in the vehicle at all, or somebody else was driving, or anything like that. I have the airbags. I have everything I need to be processed, and I'm asking you guys to help me to do that, so we can come with these answers to find out what happened. And I can tell you, I'm doing hard work day and night. I'm not just out in the desert conducting desert searches. I'm not just out there doing city searches. I'm not just out there following leads and passing out flyers and putting out information online and doing interviews and things like that. I'm also late at night doing investigation, putting everything I know, everything I found together in files, and just understanding what happened to my son. It's hard to try to do all those things at once, but somehow God is helping me to do so. Sometimes I don't even know how I'm doing it, but you know what? I can't do it by myself. So that's the reason why you hear me say often, I thank the volunteers who come out there every week. These people are amazing. They come out there every Saturday, taking their Saturdays away, maybe from their families, from their friends, things they may want to do. They're burning their own gas money to come out there to do things like line searches that I also need very much. So if you guys can come out and help me do the line searches, because they're very important at this point. As you know, my desert searches is not a rescue search anymore. It's a recovery. Because if my son is out there, we need to find his body. We need to find his remains. And to do so is very important. We have to change the way we design our searches. We used to utilize a lot of UTVs and ATVs, which we still do. But we also mostly need people on the ground doing line searches. So like I said, I can't do the searches without people like you who come out every week, do line searches, ride your UTVs, ATV, 4x4s out there in these areas that other vehicles can't go to. Diligent hard work. So like I said, I couldn't do this without people like you. I couldn't do my searches. I couldn't do my city searches, pass out these flyers. People who come out to get stacks of flyers and take it to their cities. I can't cover every city, but people live in every city, and they come out to grab these flyers and pass it out into the cities, helping me expand my searches there. I couldn't do it without the media. Those medias from local that I started from, working hard, like people like Josh Sanders and Nicole Briggs, who at these local news stations, they helped me out at the beginning when I was pleading with the with this community to put my son's story out on the air. Those are the leaders that started this thing there to help me go get farther. And with the hard work of every night sitting out there, working the media the best way I can from social media, we finally got some attention under the tragedy of another family, but also according to my hard work that I've been putting out there about my son. And it caught. And I thank God for the media that actually took my son's story. Medias like CNN to MSNBC to the Red Table Talk to Dr. Oz to you name it. I don't want to forget anybody, so I apologize if I did. ABC News, everybody who came out to help. Peacock, just everybody. I just named so many networks, and that came out to finally take my son's story, which helped get his name out there. But the only burden I have since I've been doing the search is just hearing other families go through the same thing. They don't get the opportunities to even have these networks or anybody to even tell their loved one's story. I've been fortunate to get the attention that I have been getting for my son, and I'm grateful for that. But I don't want to ever forget those families who don't even have that opportunity. But like I said, everything I'm doing here is all because of people like you who donate, people who give me their time, their this attention, spreading the word. All those things are very important. And it's called community efforts. And this is the way that things should go when people go missing every time, So I also thank you guys for signing my petition to, like I said, sharing and everything else. everything that I have on the website. You guys been following the story and everything, So I'm very grateful. Like I said, I need you guys to help me if you can, um, because I'm at my next phase here. My next phase is to get this vehicle processed, so I can go ahead and put my family's a report out. Buckeye Police Department have their report out. My report will be coming out soon of everything that I found, everything I have done since day one. Information from recordings to um, uh, just everything that I found that give you some indications to what happened to my son. I was really reluctant and that I have to do so on my own because, we pay these departments to help us out. But, at this point, I need your help as a community. This is not just my case and my investigation. It's also your investigation. The people of interest out there in the public want to know just as much as I want to know what happened to my son. Of course, I want to know a lot more. But, people want to know the public interest. And I'm deemed to find those answers to find out what happened to my son and to bring him home if possible. And that's what I'm aiming to do. And I've been here. And I just want you guys to know that I'm not stopping. I'm trying my best. I'm not perfect. I have not from day one said I'm perfect. This is a learned experience. I'm learning as I go. I never had a missing son before. Nobody have a missing person till they're missing. And when the person's missing, you start learning what you should do and what you shouldn't do. I'm still learning. I make a lot of mistakes here and there. It's hard for me to even ask sometimes for help, but I know I need it. It's very difficult time for me and my family. But I've been here on the front line champion for my family. A lot of people ask. Then I know you don't get to see my family, but they're there. They're in the background. But like I said, I'm here champion for them. I'm being a champion for my son, and also I'm trying to bring awareness to you guys and being champion for all those people that give me their love and their support by coming out, helping, by you guys donating, things like that. The media help and everything. So I'm trying everything I can to find my son, and I'm just letting you know I'm not giving up on him. My son is a very important person. He's a contributor to society. My son has so much, even gotten a speeding ticket. He's a very good, bright young man, very highly intelligent, graduated with honors. So he has dreams and aspirations, and I'm here to make sure those things continue. Daniel will achieve his goals and his dreams. I will bring him back home, and I will help him once I get him back. So I just want you guys to know that I'm not giving up on my son. I still have faith, despite everything I know, all the information I have. That's very disturbing. But you know what? I still have faith that my son is out there, and I'm going to bring him home one way out or the other. And I just want to let you know, and I ask you guys, please help me to do so. And God bless you and thank you.